Good morning, Realms. Here is a quick video from the best tips that I could think of from last year's online teaching experience. And the first one is that parents have just now become your best friend. They're your allies. They are substitute teaching for you curriculum they did not design. So they're your assistant coach. It's a lot like you inherited a student teacher and you became their mentor teacher. So my first tip is to find a way to communicate with the parents um, that works for you. If I took time to get the parents on board and get them to sort of be in my crew, so to speak, then it made everything go much easier. Next, I wanted to think about putting all directions and all examples of every single thing along the way so that the kids had examples and the parents had examples, so the parents knew what I wanted and we were sort of in lockstep all together. I used to make videos and I would start out just by introducing myself. And when I made a video, I would have all my examples already typed. And I would just be able to click to the next page, and then magically all the thinking had happened. I could type a little bit on the videos, but the recording would come up with the sound of clicking. So it was kind of best if I already had them prepared when I made the video. It looks like WebEx is going to allow you to record yourself teaching and then send that out to kids the next day. So this is something that might really be a helpful tip for you. Um, Finally, any examples that you provide for the kids are going to be there if they are working on their assignment at 11 o'clock at night, or they're frustrated. And think about how many times you have to repeat directions to kids and you just said it 5 different ways, and then the kid isn't working, and you come over to check on them and they're like, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. So anytime you give an example, it will help eliminate that frustration. Um, in my opinion, it became really important to eliminate any kind of extra or unnecessary distractions because in online learning, the kids are already having to refocus themselves or regulate their own routine and behavior, and that can be really difficult. And some kids are not supervised during the days, and so to make sure that any frustration or confusion is not coming because they literally don't know what to do, that's my best advice. Next is that when you give an assignment, give directions over and over and over again, and give graphic organizers with examples. And so here is an assignment I did with freshman English last year. It's not necessarily graphic organizers that I found so helpful, but rather I put boxes here. And every time I put a box, I was more likely, if I wanted 3 answers to this question and I put 3 boxes, I was more likely to get what I wanted. So making sure that every task you give to the kids is really clear and specific where you want them to put the answers and where the answers will go. Next, here's another graphic organizer that's sort of explaining why, if in their essay they did a hook and they had a thesis statement both in their introduction, it was going to help their score on ideas and content organization voice. So just creating lots and lots of really clear things that they can read that represents anything you might have said during class, even if you are planning on teaching something in a group context online. Putting it in writing means that the kid who doesn't pay attention during class has access to the information. Whether they will use it or not is a different story. Any basic graphic organizer that you can provide or color coding. Here's another example of a graphic organizer that's color coded. Please lean on Brian and me for any kind of tips or tricks for how to provide sentence frames or graphic organizers or word banks for the students. anytime, I guess this district doesn't have it quite as much, but any ELL strategies or SPED strategies or vocabulary acquisition strategies that you might have learned, your high flyers won't need it, but the kids who are really concrete thinkers who are struggling to focus in this new environment without constant reminders or the physical presence of other people doing what they should be doing will really benefit from that. And my final tip is super basic, forgive me, but before you give an assignment, make sure that you know the answers to these questions. I know you know this. It was just surprising to me how frequently I didn't have these in mind before I handed out an assignment, and then it became really clear when I was getting them back that I didn't have them. So make sure you know what you want them to know or be able to do, and that it's really clear how they're going to show it and how you're going to assess it. So I would recommend providing a scoring guide, possibly even providing a completed version of the task, possibly on a different subject or like a slightly different prompt or a slightly different content, but a completed task that looks the same with the scoring guide and having it scored so that the kids can kind of give themselves an estimation for how it's going to be assessed. And then I found it surprising how many times in that charter school world that I didn't really have a plan in place for what I would do if they didn't get it, because in a traditional classroom, you can just have the kid come in at lunch, or you can, send Kim to go help that kid. And in the virtual world, you just don't have that same kind of access. So make sure you have a plan for what to do if the kid doesn't get it. And then what are you going to do if they do? So what's your next step? And that's kind of weird since you're being asked to only create 2-week chunks and we don't know if we'll be coming back or not. But just have a plan for what to do to keep the kids engaged if they are finished with the big task. What are you going to do next? It's just different than it is in a classroom where you might otherwise have an engagement strategy that doesn't fly in the virtual world. All right, and finally, Realms, again, please call me, please text me, please email me. I will help you as much as I can. I'm sure Brian is willing to lend his resources to you well if you want. And I believe we will get this all done together. Even though it is new and unique, it's also an opportunity. All right, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.